They always fly so fast, don't they? Seasons, dragons. The red sowing changed everything. Both the blacks and the greens must now rethink their entire approach to the war. It changed the very idea of dragon riding. The power of gods is no longer for people named Targaryen or Velaryon or members of the royal family. This just goes well beyond war, though. It's a social and cultural shift as well. Rhaenyra and her allies and her enemies have no idea what long-term effect this might have. That's the way seeds work, right? You plant them, and it's not the next day that you find out what happens. It takes a while. And that's the facet of war, though, isn't it? They have no idea what the long-term effect is, and that's what you have to do during war. You sacrifice the long-term for survival or for victory. And that's the problem, isn't it? That said, they don't even know the short-term effect either. It seems like a good thing that it will help the war effort to have new dragons, but who are these guys really, right? Who are they? What kind of personalities do they really have? We've seen the character of Adam and Ulf and Hugh in their previous lives, but Rhaenyra and Jace haven't, and not even Mazarian knows them. They are dragon riders now, and power can go to anyone's head, as we've seen. Power is a all-encompassing theme of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. So take Aemon, for example, who just saw what he's up against, and his big head may have deflated a little bit, but he's definitely a man of action, and he's going to act. And we'll have to see what he does. But the trailers give us some clues, so we're going to talk about all that and more on this live episode of History of Westeros podcast.
Now, if you're listening to this after the fact, because we will be releasing this on our podcast feed, this was recorded live at City Winery in New York City, and we're looking out at a crowd full of our audience.
People we recognize and people we don't. Thank you for coming, everybody. I appreciate y'all coming, especially with this rain and everything. And yeah, we're really happy to have y'all here. I'm Aziz.
I'm Ashaya.
That's right. And we are History of Westeros podcast. We've been doing this for 12 years now. So you know, we've been through it a minute here. So a couple things. We just want to let y'all know what we're going to do today before we get into the proper podcast. We're going to do a brief recap of the season, just the high notes, the stuff that happened to kind of remind us where we're at. It's going to give people a little more time to come in as well. And then we're going to get feedback from you all on...
Are you Laurie's?
Yeah, I'm Laurie's. For which episodes you guys like the most. We're going to go around the room and hear cheers for each episode and see which one is the most popular. And then we're going to do a little costume contest.
Yeah, and anyone who's dressed up will get a t-shirt, and the winner will get one of the City Winery History of Westeros wine bottles.
Yeah, we don't expect a whole lot of people to enter because of the rain and all, so, you know, your chances are really good. All right, so episode 1 was A Son for a Son. That was Blood and Cheese, Rhaenyra's grief, She said one line that episode.
It's interesting how many of the titles were quotes from the books, and that's one of them, right?
That's true. Son for a Son. That's a really good one. And there's a few. You're right. There's a few other ones. Damon simmers in action. He really wants to get started.
He spends all season simmering.
He really kind of does. Simmering and dreaming. Yeah. And then we get that awesome scene in the north with Jace and Cregan. And Aegon's rule, such as it is, it started off not that bad, really.
Very magnanimous.
But, very magnanimous. That dragon cock of his really was really throbbing there early on. But that changed pretty quickly. The blockade, of course, was also a big topic there in episode 1. Episode 2 was Rhaenyra the Cruel.
Also a reference to the books, obviously.
Yeah. Maegor had that name before her, of course. Probably deserves it a bit more as well, but hey, that's propaganda for you. Daemon heads off to Harrenhal. Eric Arryn happens, that epic moment. Aegon's rage over his son's death. Otto's fired. Criston Cole promoted. Mysaria saves Rhaenyra from Arryn. And Hugh and Kat are given a little struggle. We're starting to see the interior of the common folks' lives, and of course they turn out to be not so common in the long run, but hey, they were. Episode 3
He's
was
not so small either.
Yeah, not that small, really. Yeah. Good point. Episode 3 was the Burning Mill. Cole goes on the march. Larys becomes Master of Whispers. Daemon takes Harrenhal, and his dreams begin. That was such a fun scene with marching around in his armor in the rain. We had Ulf at the bar, which was a whole different kind of fun scene. That was surprisingly cool. That's more appropriate for like what we got going here tonight. And Baela and Cole. That's the next thing on the list here. Very good. Baela and Criston. Not Criston Cole. Sorry, Baela. Baela and Cole. Right. That is what I was going to say. Have their little encounter there, where she's chasing them with our awesome David Bowie inspired Moon Dancer. And what else? Where was I? Then we have Aegon shaming Aemond at the brothel. Alicent and Rhaenyra's meeting at the Sept. Rhaena and the children all depart with the dragon eggs. Episode 4 was, of course, the Red Dragon in the Gold, a.k.a. Rook's Rest. Also had the fall of Duskendale. That was pretty bloody. Alice Rivers really comes onto the scene there, has a big scene with Daemon again. Daemon actually dreams of Aemond in that one. That was a crazy one. And Laena. Rhaenys points out that she knows who Alan of Hull really is. Which
was long debated in the fandom whether Rhaenys knew or not, and she knows.
Yep, that was a big one. And then we have the amazing scene where Aemond gets a little payback with the High Valyrian talk before, things got a lot worse at the end of that episode with all the dragons tearing each other up. You guys might remember that part. The war. Episode 5 was Regent. That was when they brought the head of Meleys in, and that was not a good decision. There was unrest. Corlys was named Hand. That was that amazing scene with Baela talking him into it and telling him what's what. Daemon, meanwhile, is ordering atrocities. Not so good. And he has his mother dream, which was something, wasn't it? That was one of the more shocking moments of the season. No one saw that one coming.
People were predicting who they thought it was, and I think one person in our live stream chat right there predicted. And I had to be so quiet. I was
That's right. Rebecca nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
So then, of course, episode 6 was the Small Folk episode. Mm-hmm. Propaganda and riot. Alicent is kicked off the council. Armies are closing in. We hear about the West is marching in, and the High Towers are marching up, and the North is marching down. Larys and Mysaria each get closer to their respective monarch. One through, you need me. One through, hey, why don't we, do you want to? Yeah, all right, yeah. So that worked out.
Jury's still out on Larys and Aegon, though.
That's true. I don't think they're going to kiss, though. They might. It's possible. And, of course, we have Criston Cole marching with Gwaine again, and this is a much different march where they're kind of like, yeah, we're just going to die. We're going, this sucks. And then the dream of Viserys, we actually got Patty, and that was awesome. And then finally, last week, the penultimate episode, as was established with the first show, they made the penultimate episode something pretty exciting, something big, something that would really set the stage for a lot more. And that's the Red Sowing, of course, and that was an episode big on letting the gods decide, whether it's the dragons or the unnamed gods above, and letting just things happen and the path the gods lay out before you. And then, of course, the River Lords had their showdown with Daemon. That was pretty amazing. That was a great scene with Oscar Tully kicking some butt there. And then the second Viserys dream, which seemed to be maybe a culmination, a turning point, where he offers him the crown and says, "Do you still want it?" What do you think, Ashaya? Does he still want it?
You know, he shouldn't want it, but it's Daemon Targaryen, so I don't know if I really truly believe that he's gotten the lesson yet. What about you?
Stubborn.
Do you think he has?
I think so. I think that maybe he needs a little more convincing. I didn't see anything obvious in the trailer that said Daemon's having another dream, but there is definitely scenes of him in Harrenhal still. So until he leaves Harrenhal, more dreams are possible, and the dreams seem to be all surrounding whether he wants the crown or not. So maybe he needs one more, maybe two more little pushes, but probably one more at most, I would think. But it could be it. That could be it.
Some people would say 0 more. Some people would say, give me 10 more, I want them all. It's very controversial.
It is a little controversial, isn't it? Okay, so let's go through each episode and you all cheer for the one you like the most. You can cheer for all of them if you want, but cheer the loudest for the one you like the most. Okay, episode 1, Son for a Son. What do we got? Okay, modest clapping. Okay, that one's not going to win. Rhaenyra the Cruel. Oh, all right. Okay. Very good, very good. That one's certainly winning over episode 1 so far. Burning Mill. Okay.
A couple passionate people.
Yeah, Rhaenyra the Cruel still winning. Okay, here comes the big one, though. Red Dragon and the Gold. Okay. A roar worthy of Sunfire. That's good. Okay. Let's see.
But not Vhagar?
Not quite Vhagar. Episode 5, Regent. Yeah? Okay. A smattering. Episode 6, Small Folk. Okay. That might be the second highest one. I don't think it beat Red Dragon and the Gold, but what about the Red Sowing? I'm not which was louder.
I think Red Sowing won. I don't know.
It might have.
Let's do one. Let's do it head to head.
Okay, one more time. Red Dragon and the Gold, or Yellow. Gold. Gold. All right. And Red Sowing. All right.
Red Sowing.
I think Red Sowing takes it. Okay, that's cool.
Maybe some recency bias, but it was pretty epic.
It's always there. Recency bias is fair. You know? Yeah. Okay.
What's your answer, Aziz?
Oh, my answer?
Yeah.
Gotta put me on the spot, don't
I know.
you?
Do you want me, I think my answer might be the Red Sowing. I said recency bias, but that might be my answer. I really loved so much about what they did there. I just had really no complaints, I don't think.
Yeah, I gotta go with that one too. I'm not gonna be very original here, but that's how it works. It is a really good episode. I mean, I loved how it starts to show Rhaenyra turning a little darker. You know, that's important, an important part of the story, I think.
I have one complaint, but it's a larger season arc complaint. It's not about the episode, I would say.
What is that?
I just don't love Ray Nettles.
Oh, okay.
I don't love it, but that's not the problem of this episode. That's not the fault of the Red
You can't pin that on one episode.
No, that started long ago, so I wasn't thinking of it, but technically.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, that's good. Good job, Red Sowing. Well done. Yeah. It was the episodes that had red in them that did the best. How about that? So red seeds will surely sprout. Okay, well, thank you all for your cheering and helping us determine that winner. Right, let's get back to the action. So we have, beyond the trailer review, we have a few things that we've kind of narrowed down as far as, well, all season long, we see little things here and there. We see trailers. We know some things might happen. And if they haven't happened yet, well, they must be happening in this last episode, or we've been fooled somehow. So that kind of narrows it down a bit. And we have definitely been fooled before. You know, there's absolutely deleted scenes in trailers, which that's a tricky thing for them to do, but keeps us on our toes, I suppose. Yeah,
sometimes they're not meaning to be tricky. It just happens that way. And they don't even realize that we theorized all season long over a shot that they just cut. For
example, one thing we learned this season that we didn't necessarily know before, but we kind of knew, but has become even more clear now, they're working on the CGI for each episode till the last minute, like literally the week of. Yeah, so sometimes when you see those trailers, there won't be a dragon in it, and then later it will have a dragon. They weren't hiding it from you. They just hadn't finished it yet. It would have looked like a little blue, just nothing flying around. That's not a very good thing for a trailer. So, for example, some things at the beginning of the season that we were really wondering about that we now have some context on and can consider: personalities. That's a big part of what we didn't have from Fire and Blood. And of course, we knew personalities for a lot of the characters already. Rhaenyra, Alicent. They're obviously changing as the show goes and they age up and as events happen. But characters like Adam and Alan and Hugh and Ulf, the Brackens, the Blackwoods.
Characters who are just have propaganda spread about them.
Yes.
You think you know their personality, but we should never assume we know their personality based on Fire and Blood, I don't think, right?
Absolutely.
Especially not for these small folk that you mentioned. Adam, Alan, Hugh, Ulf.
There's sort of an expected bias that we have to let it roll back a little bit when you talk about each of these things. Jane Eyre, maybe not so much, but somewhat.
A little bit.
A little
bit of bias because she was a solo ruling lady of the Vale, and so there's definitely bias against her as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And Cragen Stark, even he would have a little bit of bias because he's a northerner and he worships trees, right? But they wouldn't say that to his face. In general, we really wondered about Alicent because they've made her a main character, and she's very different from her book version. And oh, by the way, y'all, we're not going to have any book spoilers in this one. We don't need to go there today.
We'll reference certain things that are different, obviously.
Yeah,
but
or things that already happened is fine, but nothing that's gonna happen. And we were wondering about. So that's a really interesting thing. The show has to kind of come up with things for Alicent to fit in the narrative, and some of those things have worked out pretty well. Some of them have been given, not my opinion, but just the way we've heard about it. Some people are like, some of these scenes aren't great, but I wouldn't say they've put a lot of time into that overall. They've made her scenes kind of quick and meaningful and over with. But I think that's a lot of that set up for later. Mazzaria had a comment that we were really wondering about several episodes ago, and she said maybe Sea Smoke was lonely. And at the time, a lot of us took that to mean maybe that means Alan or Laenor had passed, which I think is a good theory. But that's probably not what Mazzaria was talking about, even though it does.
She was talking about Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's lonely. And
she was setting that up early, yeah.
it was double meaning, and it did still refer to Sea Smoke, but...
And Rhaenyra reacted to that. She was like, oh, maybe, and that, so now we have more context on what that meant at the time. So that was pretty interesting, but let's get into some specific things from the trailer.
Yeah, let's get very excited for tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, tomorrow, y'all. I mean... let's see, wait, what time is it right now? Is it...
is it 9
It's 8:36, so in about 24 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's a very long episode. What is it, 73 minutes, I think it is?
I think it was like 70 minutes. It was pretty long.
Yeah.
65.
Okay.
65, yeah.
Good length to it. That's what she said. So Aemond tells Helaena...
Pretenders raise new riders against us. I need you to fly with Dreamfire to battle. Very big line.
Aemond trying to get Dreamfire to fly to battle. Helaena doesn't seem like the dragon to war type.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't think... Do you think Helaena will fly to war?
I don't.
Like, no way. Yeah, no.
I don't know.
She seems like a conscientious objector type of person, right? Like...
They could surprise us. Yeah, yes, that's right.
like George, as someone said, yes.
Yeah, but... And I wonder about, it makes me think about that scene where she was somehow snuck up on Aemond when he was staring at the throne like so many other characters have, and she said, was it worth it? And we were
was
like,
it worth the price?
What did she mean by that? What does she know about what Aemond's done?
Yeah,
Or is she just saying, oh, your brother, is this how you treat your brother? Not necessarily blaming him for anything, but just... You're crawling over your brother to do this, you know?
I mean, I would say she's probably saying that was it worth all of the people you've killed or tried to kill, including our brother and my husband? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they set a trap, and this is was it worth it? Yeah, that kind of makes sense. But very curious to see her response to this. I'm like, she could just say, okay, sure. No, I don't think that'll happen. But
I mean, I think we see part of what will stop it, right?
Sure.
In the trailer itself, don't we?
Yeah. We see Alicent coming up. There's another scene they show us in the trailer. That's Alicent is arguing with Aemond, and she says this.
You wish to rule the 7 kingdoms, but you reign ruin and death.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like what Helaena would sign up for, but maybe this is after he's gotten her to do something. It doesn't seem very likely, but, we like to explore our options.
If y'all watch the trailers with subtitles, I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but they subtitle it with Rain, R-E-I-G-N, but it could also be Rain, R-A-I-N. It's kind of a fun play on words that Alicent says there.
And that's neither of the things you think of when you start a word rain in this phrase, like Rhaena or Rhaenyra is what you expect the rest of that word to turn into. Yeah, so Alicent clearly is aware of Aemond either having Helaena do something or asking her to do something. Maybe Helaena just goes and talks to Alicent. It's like, he wants me to ride a dragon. Like, tell him to shut up. But it's a real opportunity for another prophetic line from her, because that's what we want from her. I mean, and her to be safe and protected, because she's the best of the Greens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, so we want good things for her, even though that doesn't seem necessarily a good thing, a thing to pin your hopes on necessarily.
I tend to expect any scene with Helaena, she'll say something of note prophetic. So since we've seen that we'll see her in 2 scenes in this episode, I hope to see that with her.
It's gotten harder to figure out what she's been saying too. I feel like the first 2 prophecies she said in the first season were like, he has to close an eye, and we're like, oh, she's prophesying about Aemond, oh my God. You know, and then later she did...
The beast beneath the board was argued, and is still argued, in fact, I would say.
And one that actually has come back around was she said...
Dragons of flesh.
Dragons of flesh, weaving dragons. So it's like the red sewing. Oh, so she prophesied that way back when she was a younger actress. That's way back. And so there's a lot of possibilities here, right? I mean, for her, I mean, when you have prophecy on the line, it's really just, whoa. Yeah, you can't really guess at it unless you...
have the gift of prophecy,
yeah,
perhaps?
Unless you have the gift of... There you go. Good, yes. Yeah. Do I have Helaena prophecy? No, I don't, so...
Yeah, I mean, even with Fire and Blood, even with the book, we're not just being facetious here. They can tweak and change so much, and they have, that I really do find myself constantly wondering about a Helaena prophecy.
Yeah, and she's one of the most changed characters, so it makes sense to wonder about her. She's become a vehicle for a whole lot of plot and just interesting... She's maybe one of the biggest things that adds to the discourse. You know, you talk about what the hell she's talking about. Try to figure it out. And, okay, so... related to this, where is Otto?
Where in the world is Otto Hightower? He's just been gone.
Where is this guy? It's crazy, right? So,
I mean, we could see him pop up in the Triarchy, dealing with that plot line. We could see him pop up in the Reach, dealing with that plot line.
Sure.
You know? But I don't feel like I have a good guess.
It's unlikely he's at any of the major places he said he would go, or we would have heard from him. He's probably not at Highgarden or Old Town.
It makes you wonder what has happened. Like, why is he not communicating? Does he just want to come in glory with having done what he wanted to do, or did something stop him? I don't know.
I don't think he's, like, dead prematurely. That would be pretty weird to kill him off page, you know, like that. But, I mean... Now, one idea I have, though, is... Well, Aemond told who to go summon Otto?
Larys.
Yeah. Larys doesn't like Aemond. Larys doesn't really like Otto either. So maybe he just didn't do it. Maybe he's like, nah, I'm not going to send that message. I don't know where he is. But the problem with that is they didn't know where he was before this.
Yeah, Otto wasn't talking to Alicent.
Yeah, he was missing before that. So,
like, is he having a tantrum? Is he, or is something? I don't know.
Otto is off getting blotto. And that's what it is. Yeah. He's sleeping off a bender. He'll be back, So that's just a big mystery. We don't know. But it's interesting to think that what effect would Otto have on Aemond at this point? Because this next thing we see, we have, well, actually, one thing before that. There's a weird trailer shot where they give us King's Landing from a distance, and a trailer, like a carriage, a solo carriage, just going down the road, and maybe that's just a wide shot.
It could have been Alicent leaving, and we didn't see it, or entering, and we just, because, again, we said they remove shots. Perhaps it's one of those, but perhaps it's yet to be seen.
Yeah, could be related. Maybe it's Otto arriving. So, okay, but the main thing I was getting to here with Otto and the presence of Aemond in the presence of Otto is that we get this shot of a burning town or city, or not a city, but a town, looks like a port city of some kind, and my guess is Sharp Point because it looks like it's on the tip of the peninsula, and that's the only peninsula in that region.
And they're on Massey's Hook, which is sworn to Rhaenyra. Yeah.
So I guess the idea is he can't go to Dragonstone, so he'll hit elsewhere. He'll just start burning things, and, well, I guess that's Aemon for you. I'm not sure Otto would have advised that, but it would be interesting to see his reaction to such
I think
things.
it's interesting that Aemon wanted Otto, because I don't think Otto would have been everything Aemon thought he would be to him.
Aemon wanted Otto when he had the advantage, and he was like, I got the big dragon, they hardly have anything. And now he's like, well, this is different now. They have a lot of dragons. What am I going to do?
Yeah, we have that quote where they say, we will answer outrage with outrage.
It almost looks like it might be a trick that the way Aemon he's coming at a city that's already been burned. But I'm still thinking he probably did it. But it could be that he's arriving in a place that's already been burned. But that'd be weird for why would the Blacks burn a...
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't
seem
think
like
they
Rhaenyra
would.
is MO.
Unless Bar Emmon was weirdly against their liege lord.
Or these new dragon seeds are already going ham. Like, I'm just going to test this thing out. I tested, Ulf already tried out flying. What about burning? Let's see what this thing can really do. So it sort of feels like, he can't go for his enemies directly anymore, so he's just lashing out a little bit. I mean, that seems what Alicent is... Seems like that's what she was saying, right?
Or if he gives them too many fires to put out, as it were, too many things to deal with. He's like, they can't, if I'm everywhere, they can't get me.
And, well, this is reflected in this next section. We have a little bit about Larys and Aegon, and this line.
The Prince Regent is angry. There is no telling what he will do.
Yeah. That's kind of true, but it's also like you feel like Larys is just trying to get Aegon to do what he wants a bit. He's got a plan, I guess. Aemon's already rejected Larys pretty thoroughly, so I think he knows he doesn't have a place in this regime.
You're probably right. He's not wrong, but he's playing it up.
Yeah, he's playing it up. Yeah, he's not wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Aemon absolutely is a threat to Aegon. Let me be clear on that.
Yeah.
And it really seems like a big mistake to make an enemy of Larys, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And Aemon just definitely made an enemy of Larys, and he didn't really think twice about doing that.
Yeah, so I do wonder about the undermining thing, about whether he just didn't try to find Otto or something maybe even more sinister.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The fact that Larys is working against Aemon does make me more suspicious of the Otto thing.
So we have out in the field, we have Criston Cole and Gwaine Hightower, the odd couple. They have a much different vibe this time. When they went out the first time, Criston was very serious and determined, and Gwaine was very much not. He wanted to party and be a Hightower knight, and he was disabused of that notion. He's like, wait, this is a real war. That dragon almost got us. And then he saw Duskendale and Rook's Rest and all the horrors there, and he's a changed man. But so is Criston Cole. Arguably more so. It kind of looks like Criston Cole maybe he's even more so changed.
It's hard to argue between the two of them. They both seem, frankly, very changed. I guess we know Criston a little bit better, but I think he was more dazzled by the glory of battle and war prior to this. And then I got the impression that Gwaine was, but I just didn't know Gwaine quite as well.
Yeah, I don't think Gwaine had a lot of experience himself either at war, just maybe some basic stuff. But Criston, had fought in some
Criston had fought,
conflicts.
Right? Like
yeah,
Criston
actual
had fought,
marcher conflicts,
but he still seemed to not be so disillusioned with war, despite that.
Yeah, the dragons were just a complete game changer. So we have 2 lines from him, and these are particularly important because they're right at the beginning of the trailer and kind of set the stage for a lot of things. The
dragons dance, and men are like dust under their feet, and we march now toward our annihilation. Criston, a poet, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's not what you want to hear from your commander, but it is very poetic. Like, we march now towards our annihilation. Are you with me? Let's go. It's going to be great.
We're like dust.
Yeah, can't wait to get ground under dust. Yeah, and we've literally seen dragons stomp on people.
Yeah.
Like Vhagar did it, Caraxes did it.
Yeah, they literally have been like dust under their feet. That's
the dragons didn't even notice it. Yeah.
True.
We did. The camera was right on them. But it's weird. What is this, though? I don't know that Criston being the worst morale commander you've ever heard of is the reason that Gwaine Hightower puts a sword to his throat, which is what we see in the trailer. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the reason. Like, you're going to lead us to our death, so I'm going to kill you myself. I don't know about that. Maybe.
You just said, do you want to die? You really want to die? I'll kill you myself then. It could be one of those
You
things.
better not say that to the men. Yeah, you better. Between us, okay, but you better not say that to... Yeah.
I mean, he could just hate Criston like so many in the audience hate him. And like, I think many people be like, I don't know, he has a hateable face.
Yeah.
Some people say there's no reason necessary. But I don't know. I think there's probably a greater reason.
Okay.
Yeah, someone says, "What are you
Okay.
doing with my sister?" And we did see when
He
they
did
left.
see that, you're
He
right.
did seem to clock that. Gawain looked between them. He saw him taking Allison's favor.
Her handkerchief or whatever that was.
Her handkerchief. Yes.
The padding in her left bra, I think it was. Left bra? That's not the right word. Okay, well, maybe in Westeros it is the right word. That's a really curious thing, and I'm very curious about that plot line in general, because Kristen's a lot more interesting to me than the book version, which is true for most of the characters, because no slam on George, obviously, I'm not up here to slam on George, but he didn't give these characters fleshed out personalities. It's a history book. They don't have the stuff that, and so it's like a flip from Song of Ice and Fire, where we're like, don't change those personalities. We like the book versions, but they're not really changing. They're changing events in the show, but they're not really the personalities. They kind of just have to make up on their own, with a few exceptions, and they have changed a few things
With some exceptions, you're right.
And some of those exceptions might be short-term exceptions. We might get into those other versions later. Some of those characters may turn into the versions that they become later.
That's a very good point. We should never assume that because a character is one way right now that doesn't mean that they won't either have growth or regress, because it could be them getting worse or better.
There's a lot of candidates for that. I agree. There's quite a few.
Yeah, people who say certain characters are whitewashed. I'm like, well, for now maybe, but not in the long run. We don't know. The jury's out right there.
We shall see. Yeah, they'll be greenwashed instead. Yeah. So that is, and I'm very curious at how he's going to manage his campaign and how this is going to affect his ability to be a leader. Just thinking he's going to his death. Yeah, that's a bit of a twist seeing Kristen like that. Speaking of the Green's armies, we see a Hightower army on the march, something we saw at the preseason trailer. So we've been seeing this for a while, but this time it's changed. Like we said at the beginning, sometimes they weren't ready to have all the CGI, and there's a dragon, and it appears to be Tessarion.
Yes.
The Blue Queen flies.
And she looked really blue in that shot.
Blue, yes, very
Vibrantly
blue.
Yes.
Vibrantly blue, like more of like a rich blue rather than a dark blue, silver like Silverwing was.
Yeah.
With some nice red or reddish purple in the wings there.
And the membrane of the wing.
Yeah, that looked really good.
Yeah, no, so we're obviously all very excited to see not just Tessarion, but Tessarion's rider Daron, who's been mentioned throughout the season and not seen. I think we're both going to say we don't think we see him because it's kind of weird to cast an actor for the finale, like contract-wise, that usually they don't want to do that. So I think probably it's a safe bet that we won't see Daron until episode 1 of season 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. It'll be one of the big hot ticket items during the off season, casting calls. Is that Daron?
We'll see Daron before we see him in episode 1 because the casting will be announced and we'll know him.
We'll know who he is.
Yeah,
they'll probably even show set photos. He won't be a blonde probably, but they'll make him one.
Yeah.
Or they won't. Maybe he's not going to be blonde.
Yeah,
maybe
that is part of the theory. Some people theorize that he will have red hair like Alicent or
that would be cool.
Something like that. But I think generally he's probably going to have silver hair like the rest, but that would be a reason why they sent him off to Old Town.
Get that redhead out of here.
Which isn't even necessarily a statement on her having cheated on her husband Viserys at the time.
No.
It could just happen that way because it does happen and she was embarrassed.
Yeah, she's got red hair.
But I don't know. If we were going to bet, I would say he has silver hair. I just want to throw out there. Some people theorize that.
It would be a neat trick. They may not have decided yet. I wonder if they're debating it internally. They didn't do that with Rhaenys. They gave her silver hair. Instead of black hair.
What I'm so excited for in season 3 though is Daron's a lute player, so we're gonna get lots more music in season 3, right?
Yeah, we could get some. Podrick Payne action we got in season 8.
I wonder if he's an original lyricist or he only plays other people's songs.
Yeah, maybe he'll play some songs we've heard. Maybe he'll play the Bear and the Maiden Fair. Or
I want new songs. I want new songs.
Yeah, give me new songs. Yeah.
Not the old ones. I don't want those repeats.
The Song of the Sowing. No, he's not going to sing that.
No.
He doesn't like. He's not going to sing that. It would be a hate song for him. He's I hate those seeds. They're the worst. And which is obviously this is very interesting because the Greens the blacks have this massive advantage with dragons now, apparently, and the Greens have at least one more, and obviously Aemond is trying to make it 3. So that changes a lot of things, but Jay says that's by itself still not enough. The Greens have a lot more armies and wealth. The 3 richest houses in Westeros at this time are Lannister, Velaryon, and Hightower. So they have 2 of those. And some of the other richest houses just aren't participating, like the Tyrells. And Storm's End is allegedly with the Greens, but they haven't done anything. So
where are they? What are they doing? They're betrothed to Aemond, and they're just sitting it out.
He was all fired up, like, I'm not sure. And now I'm gonna. You guys go fight. I'm gonna chill in my castle. It's stormy here.
The storms have kept them.
Yeah, it's all about the storms. That's the problem. So I think we're leading towards maybe a lot more traditional battles. That's the thing I'm really wondering about season 3, if they're going to modify some of those to add dragons to them, because that's what people expect, and they're going to be tempted, I think, as showrunners to put the dragons in as many things as they can and not to have the traditional battles, because there's such a big expense, which is maybe a little disappointing, but we can only have so many battles, so we have to always temper our expectations, although I think we're all hoping for 10 episodes next time.
Yeah.
This eight business is not going to cut it. And now, of course, I hope everybody knows that was not their decision. That was HBO's mandate. So, ooh, yes. But yeah,
that's a great way to get them to give us more.
Yeah, they're like, oh, here, take the money. Yeah. So, yeah, we can hope they get a little more budget, and yeah, we'll see. The show is still doing very well. It did. Yeah, I mean, with 8 episodes, you can't do quite as well as 10. There's fewer episodes. But the reviews are good. They're not quite as strong as season 1, but they're very strong, and it's HBO's most watched show right now. So there's reason for optimism that budget will go back up a little. Shall we take some questions?
Yeah, let's see.
We're roughly...
if we wanted to take... Yeah, if anyone has a question, we're going to take a brief moment, and we have someone who will...
Microphone distribution system out here. Anyone raise your hand if you have a question, and the microphone will come to you.
You can just start from that side.
Yeah, just go left to right.
Left to right. Yeah, thank you.
Hello? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
So my friend here said something earlier. He says that Alicent's mistake, saying that Rhaenyra is going to succeed as queen, the incident that started the show didn't matter, because the war would happen no matter what.
Do you think it would happen no matter what?
He's claiming that Otto is running everything like some kind of Darth Sidious, and...
He started everything.
I think a war of some kind was inevitable. It wasn't necessarily inevitable in that year or
that generation.
Yeah, even with that generation. But I do think that...
He might have used the grandchildren, for example.
Eventually, the dragon would go to war with itself. It would have to. There's so many of them. One would... Yeah, the issues of one person's claims over another, or the family being split. I mean, it already happened. It happened in the second generation of Aegon's reign. Maegor usurped.
Yeah. And I would agree, though, that I don't think it's Alicent's fault. I do think Otto was a puppet master behind the scenes, right? And I don't think that's to erase culpability from anyone involved in making this war happen. It's not just Otto either. It's also Viserys, right?
It wasn't Otto from the beginning either, because Otto was, at first, he was just like anyone but Daemon. That was his deal. And then other opportunities came, and he switched. But
yeah, you're right. I don't think at the beginning he quite saw the path forward always.
Yeah, how could he? Because Viserys was married, and there was no...
Yeah.
As long as Emma's alive, and he can't predict she's going to die.
Next question.
Hi. Do you think there's going to be another time jump? Because it seems like it's going to be tricky to do some of the things with where the characters are at and how old the dragons are. I just want to get your take on it.
I think we've been slowly but surely seeing a little bit of that. Like, think about how quickly Aegon's been healing. Like, a certain amount of time has to have been passing for that to happen, So I think they are kind of organically adding larger time jumps, and that, yes, I think, further, they'll be like, here was a month, here was 2 months, instead of doing 10 years or 5 years, I think you do a few months at a time, and that can get us up to, because there are some, as you're referring to, there are some small children on the black side and the green side who, how can you expect them to do anything in this war?
Yeah, it is tricky. I think that they, like pretty much every TV show ever, fudges timelines when they have to a little bit, and some more than others. But this show's so complicated with so many different things going on. I do think that they might do short ones, but nothing like a year even. Maybe, and it would be later. There's so many battles coming, and I think they're
wouldn't
just going to have
imagine
to.
a year, but I could see months, a couple months.
I think most of that's going to be handled by changes to the plot rather than aging characters up.
Yeah, because you have to remember, not everything has to happen in the exact order. We want certain things to happen, but it isn't necessarily important. If it happens A, B, C, it can happen B, A, C.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of room there for things to be moved and have that effectively be like more time because, well, this event was pushed out several months where everything else is still happening in a different order. But that is particularly tricky with the ages of some of the characters. But I think they might just resolve that differently. I think, for example, some of the battles in particular they'll have to change how they do it. Like, I don't think any children are riding dragons anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't think and in the book, children do ride dragons, and I don't think they really want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know about kids on that dragon thing,
Yeah,
that saddle.
yeah.
Is that even legal? Can you put child actors on that bucking bronco dragon
on the
thing?
bull.
We'll see. Next question.
So I was wondering, do you think that Daeron Targaryen without spoilers, will be shown next episode? And that maybe, how do you feel about the fact that they didn't mention him the whole first season?
It seems like they could have been mentioning him. I agree.
Yeah.
We don't think we'll see him because we would want to know a casting announcement. Why would they cast him for one episode? We would have seen him episodes earlier.
Yeah, we'll just see a silhouette from the dragon. Like, there's somebody on that dragon.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we see that is a good example. We see that dragon in that shot.
Yeah.
So Daeron would be riding his dragon probably. So we won't, we'll see him.
I can kind of see why they didn't mention him in season 1 because they weren't going to if they knew they weren't going to actually have him appear till season 3. Yeah, but still, I would have liked it. I mean, I wanted it. I
think
wanted
it would build the hype even more for this character.
There's another dragon rider?
But I think it worked. I think doing it in season 2 has worked. I don't think there are show-only people who are like, who's Daeron? I think the scenes that they introduced did the trick. I think everyone knows, right?
Yeah, they spent a good amount of time talking about him, and that was good. Like, they had a meaningful conversation about him, and then a few other hints as well. There was a little bit of a hint for him in season 1. He was in the intro, like the little bloodline thing that they changed. His cup, he had a little cup, which was because he's a cupbearer. So that was his little symbol.
If they'd realized, they would have given him a loot.
Yeah, they could have given him a loot. That's true. That would have been cooler. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, there are some more. There
Cool.
are plenty more.
All right.
My question was in the last episode, I saw somebody who looked like they were a brown person in the dragon seeds.
Yes.
Do we think that Nettles is completely written off, or do we still have hope?
We do. I think we do think Nettles is completely written off. That person we saw in filming photos, and a lot of people held out hope for a long time, thinking that could be our Nettles. But no, I don't. Like, we never saw anything else come of that during that. If she got away. Otherwise, she died there. Yeah. I can't imagine that. Like, I mean, maybe Rhaena just fails again. She just is a failure. She just keeps fumbling it.
Rhaena's going to get eaten and Nettles is going to appear.
I don't think so. I think she's getting sheep stealer. I don't think they're going to have her fail again.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, it's a bummer, but we have at least had some time. Some of us, anyway, had time to mourn Nettles in advance because, like, we had an interview with Ryan and they wanted to see our questions ahead of time. Some of y'all know this already, but some of y'all don't. And they told us remove any questions about Nettles.
Yeah. So
it wasn't Ryan who said that. It was just, his team or whatever. So we were like, okay, we only had one, but we removed it.
Told us everything. So I think, and I mean, he answered questions about Daeron, and that's because it wasn't controversial.
That's very telling, yeah.
Daeron will be there. That's all he had to say. If Nettles was going to be there, I think he would have an easy answer. So yeah.
The other missing one is Maelor, which we're also not kind of sure about.
Yeah, and I think he might have I don't know. We'll see about. We'll talk about that a little bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. What's the next question?
Where we're at in House of the Dragon, do you think we're going to get 2 seasons or 1?
2 more?
More? Yeah, 2 more.
2 more.
Yeah,
we think 4.
Respectively, 2 more, right?
Yeah,
that's what I feel too.
3 and 4.
Yeah, exactly. 2 more.
3 or 4?
We'll have 4 seasons total of the Dance of the Dragons run, and it's unclear whether the other eras will be under the House of the Dragon banner, as it were.
That is what they had said. Yeah, Ryan said that originally they were like, that way they could maybe do Aegon's Conquest or
so it might be like House of the Dragon,
Aegon's
Conquest. Who knows how they brand that sort of thing.
I'm sure they haven't decided exactly how to market it, but that will be a lot of it.
But
will be
the
a marketing
dance will
decision.
be more seasons ending at season 4. Most is what they've said, and I would be shocked if they changed that at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, what's he drinking? That's a good question.
What's he drinking right this second?
Can I throw in a guess?
Here, hang on.
You'll send him a text.
We'll find out, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, and now let's.
It's definitely a Red Bull with some type of smoothie.
Naked drink.
I threw the red in this season because I wanted to exemplify the blood that happened.
It's a metaphor.
But also I really wanted to throw some mango in there because it might amplify our spirits. But my question was, hi friends.
Hi.
But I'm pretty big into dragons, and I know that we've seen dragons come and go this season, and we've seen people with their dragons. But what do you think the dragons feel about like one another, especially after having different riders?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's really what made me so extra sad during the Red Dragon and the Gold. I found myself extra heartbroken thinking about Vhagar killing Meleys and how many times Meleys and Vhagar would have flown together, right? As mother and daughter, they would have flown together so many times. And I think about the first time Laena mounted Vhagar, Rhaenys probably flew up in the sky and they flew together. Like, it's very sad. It's like, that's just one example, but then...
Caraxes and Vhagar would have flown together a lot as well.
That's exactly true. Caraxes and Vhagar would have flown together, and they're now on opposite sides of a war right now. So that's obviously one example. But then you see, like, when Syrax and Seasmoke met again, they would have spent years together because Laenor and Rhaenyra were married, and so those two dragons were bonded for a number of years. And a lot of people think that like some of Syrax's clutch of eggs would have come from that union, right? And so there's a lot of opportunity for great sadness and for great reunions too. I would say because like Vermithor and Silverwing, like they've been together for a long time, and now they're going to be out flying together.
They're our best example of dragons bonding with each other rather than with a person. Yeah, Silverwing and Vermithor. Yeah, and it's possible there was some Syrax and Seasmoke. I mean, they've met again now, and I think we even see at the beginning in the trailer we see two dragons that Mysaria and Rhaenyra are watching. You know, it's a nice afternoon activity watching dragons fly in the distance, and that might be Syrax and Seasmoke.
Yeah, it could be Syrax and Seasmoke. It could be Moondancer and Vermax. You would think that Moondancer and Vermax probably are pretty close and tightly bonded right now, between obviously with Baela and Jace being their riders. So I think you're right. I get very sad when I think about how the dragons are thrust into opposite sides from one another. It's very sad, absolutely.
Yeah, poor dragons. Poor nuclear beasts.
Hi.
Hello.
I loved in season 1 the detail that they put into High Tide.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
I really want there to be a totally different separate show that goes into those 9 voyages.
Yes.
Are we going to see Corlys do something? Can we please see Corlys do something? He's amazing.
Well, we have some good news about that, I think, today, because I just saw that George at the Oxford event that he was at the other day, he spoke and he said that
he gave an update,
the 9 Voyages animated show with Corlys is currently, beyond Dunk and Egg, which is in production, is the most likely to happen. It's had the most progress, and that obviously pivoted. At one point, that was going to be by Bruno Heller, who did Rome, and would have been a very different story. And now it's going to be an animated series, which I think is for the best, kind of, because
really expensive.
Yeah, I think that's how I'm into that.
Yeah, I'm into that too.
Because then they can have Steve actually voice young Corlys if they wanted to.
That's a great idea.
Eve Best voice young Rhaenys rather than having to cast young versions of these characters.
That's a great call.
So I think the animated is the way to go. And so I think we will see those 9 voyages, and that's kind of why they wanted to make sure to pepper that in to showing us that at High Tide, so that we'll see when he acquired that weird like seashell thing, fossil thing.
Yes. What the hell is that thing?
Yeah, he has a big fossil. I love that thing.
So sad news though. They that set was dismantled. The season 2 version was all CGI.
They filmed him like that. It was
practical
a little off.
in season 1.
Yeah, what a shame to dismantle.
They took it all apart. Yeah, Steve Toussaint was like, where's my you know how hard I worked to get all that stuff? I sailed to Ib.
We got our next question right there.
Hi.
Hi.
Damon Stan. I know that she I know you don't like Damon and stuff, so I want to ask. Like, I just don't like how they're portraying Damon in the show. Yeah. He's completely different from how he is in the book, because he was like totally loyal both to his brother and to his wife or niece.
His wife, one niece.
I know. So Aziz, like, what do you think about how they're portraying him?
I'm interested in having a fuller story for Damon. I think he's gonna. I feel like he's gonna end up as what you're describing, but I think they're charting a path for him to get there, and I think that's interesting because. It enables him to become a different person than I think the things he's going to have to do later in the story. I don't want to say what they are, but if you know his ending or his basic ending, the person that does that is not the person that we started with. You know, a person that's willing to do that kind of thing. We have to have a believable journey for him to become that person, and part of that, I think, it starts by him becoming loyal. More fully, yes, he was loyal to his brother. You're right. He was loyal to Rhaenyra for a little while, and then he got mad. Right? It's just he's a little complicated. I think he wants to be loyal, and I think they're showing him struggle with that. And maybe I think at the end of this, he's going to. I feel like that maybe that's what we're seeing. In fact, that's the first thing we're going to talk about in the second half. So we'll have a little more on that. But I do think that they're just taking a circuitous route to get there, maybe. But I do think he's going to be. He's going to be the Damon of the books, I think, in the long run.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see that Caraxi shirt. It's a dope shirt.
Hold on now. Hold on. We got Sean responded. He sent a picture. It's a naked drink, of course, and he says this has blue Mountain Dew and strawberry kiwi sparkling ice mixed in it.
Okay. All right.
A worthy beverage.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell him that you all cheered for him.
Hi, sorry. My question is, what do you think would have happened if Rhaenyra tried to mount Vermithor? Veraxes. Vermithor.
Yeah, Vermithor, yeah.
Vermithor, excuse me.
She has that moment of bonding with him, and he doesn't reject her. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a great, interesting question.
Yeah, of course, we know in book canon, supposedly, it isn't explicitly said it's not possible. It's just, or maybe, I don't think it's been said it's not possible. It's just never been done.
Yeah,
which might mean it's not possible.
We've had people try, but not simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's happened after they've lost their dragon. They've tried.
Certainly.
Cyrus would have been pissed, yeah.
You cheating on me? Yeah.
Rhaenyra's cheating on Damon too, so I don't know.
We've seen dragons take the lead and follow, like with Daenerys. Her dragons just follow Drogon. They kind of just get in line, and even that's in the book where Daemon flies on Caraxes and has Rhaegar follow with no rider. That's happened before too.
Yeah.
So that's not him. That's not the same as riding, but it's the closest we've gotten to that sort of thing. If Rhaenyra was reading her books, she might have read the same thing and it would say, oh yeah, don't do that. But also, I don't know that there's much point to it because she needs someone.
She can't ride them both.
She can't ride them both.
There's point to it because then she can take on Rhaegar herself.
Okay, that's true.
Fear.
She can save Syrax for later. Be like, all right, girl, I'm going to save you.
It's still a huge gamble. I don't think it's worth the gamble to try it.
None of her council would want her to be the one to do that. Yeah. So maybe what if Jace was like, well, let me switch dragons then. Take me more seriously now. Well, yeah. All right.
Next question.
Who's next?
Do you think the look Mysaria gives Rhaenyra and Vermithor in that scene is indicative of a change of heart that she has?
I think she might just be realizing, wow, she's really got it. I don't think it's just changing. I think she's realizing the severity and epicness of I don't think Caraxes or Syrax compare to Vermithor, so I just think she's like anyone else odd. What about you, Aziz?
Yeah, I think she's a little odd, and she had an interesting reaction to when Stefan Darklin tried, which was it was worth the try. She said, "Don't get down on yourself. It was worth the try, no matter the result. This is worth it." So this may not have been what she expected, but she also wants to be on the winning team. She wants Rhaenyra to win, and we've seen that even though Mysaria is a champion of the common people, she's a champion of them as a whole, not as individuals. She is willing to let a few of them die to save more of them, perhaps. And I think she has goals with Rhaenyra as well. So seeing that Rhaenyra was sort of almost enraptured by it, maybe is the right word, because she wasn't troubled by it. She seemed like, yeah, this is kind of what I want. It was pretty dark, and that's maybe another in route for Mazaria, depending on how much they want to go with the whole, well, manipulation, jealousy, I don't know what they're gonna do there, but Mazaria has goals, and they're not all about the small folk. Some of them are get those high towers, and for one scenario we've discussed is what happens if Rhaenyra doesn't want a certain person killed, like maybe Alicent would be a good example, and Mazaria's like, does, and who knows, like maybe that happens, and then Rhaenyra's like, why'd you do that? So I think there's a lot of, Mazaria is seeing a lot of opportunity in the changes going through Rhaenyra, and is going to make sure to stay aware of those things, because if she's having intimacy with her at all, if they're having private moments, then these things are going to come up, and she's going to want to say the right things and know what mind state Rhaenyra's in.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be in bed like, wow, that was scary.
Yeah.
She wants to, maybe be in bed, be like, you look so powerful with Vermithor. Like
or whatever she thinks she wants to hear.
Yeah, whatever she thinks she wants to hear. So I think she was probably trying to clock how Rhaenyra felt at that moment.
Yeah, and it's my vibe there, I think that I'm getting, I think a lot of people are getting the same vibe, is that she was developing a little bit of a god complex. The person that's in charge of this prophecy, and it's all her burden. She said, a few episodes ago, she said, no one has trod the path that I'm on right now, and it's a lot of ways to conceive that
True
line.
enough, she's not wrong.
Yeah. And she chose this over, no matter Jace's objections and all these other things, she's just like, nope, got to go forward with this. So I think that's going to be something really interesting, I think. The long term of Mazaria's interplay with Rhaenyra's prophecy arc. And this is very unpredictable because, as most of you probably know, this stuff isn't in Fire and Blood. So the prophecy stuff is all just, who knows what's going to happen? It's very interesting and hard to predict.
This is a hypothetical. If Old King Jaehaerys had died before Rhaenys' dad and the line of succession had gone to Rhaenys, do you think she would have had Laena or Laenor be her heir?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Is Laena the older twin?
Laena is older.
She is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I think she would have had to, right?
I mean, Jaehaerys had an older daughter and still went for his sons. He was fighting with Alysanne.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, if he had died in that interim before he had picked a new heir, let's say Baelon dies, and then before the Great Council, let's say he passes before the Great Council, but after Baelon dies, that would have been maybe a little bit of a crisis, because they were expecting him to name an heir, so they wouldn't have had one. So so Rhaenys, let's say Rhaenys, in that scenario, let's say Rhaenys becomes the queen, or even if she was named. Even if she was just picked. I don't know that it changes the scenario a whole lot if she's chosen. But that would be super interesting, whether she picked, the lords, I think a lot of lords, guys like the Otto Hightowers of the world would probably want her to pick Laenor, but maybe not, because Laenor he's Laenor, and he's not a super serious guy.
And does Laena have Vhagar? That's a good question, right? If she has Vhagar, she might have a greater claim.
Yeah, that's a very interesting alternate reality you've painted here. Yeah. Laena, the queen with Vhagar. Yeah, that's a whole nother world.
I feel like we have not mentioned my favorite part of the season so far. So my question is, Alice Rivers, what does she want?
Yeah. Okay. This is a great question. Yeah, we have our Harrenhal stuff we have saved for the second half, but
we're going to cover a lot of it.
We're going to cover a lot of it. Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, so on the small scale, I love thinking about how some of the things she seemed to want aren't actually what she actually wants. She was just manipulating Daemon. That whole thing about, the common folk, and you did all those things to Bracken peasants, don't you feel bad? He's like, no, not really. And but he kind of did. But he did kind of. He just said he didn't, but then he's having, hearing things and marching feet under his door and all these other things. I think that if you want to get Grant go big, the idea is that she's manipulating events to either create the conditions necessary for Song of Ice and Fire to happen, or if she's seeing if she's coming at it from a different angle than Aegon's dream, she's not necessarily.
She's not seeing it from Aegon's dream's perspective
necessarily,
but
what she knows is different. We'll say, yeah. Her knowledge comes from the Werewood Network. Perhaps it might be even more direct. It probably is more direct, especially because it's more directly connected to the forces that create the Long Night in the first place and create the others and all that. So it'll be super interesting to see if this is brought up. If we see this is part of the grand story that started with Aegon and goes all the way to Daenerys, and whether they're going to tie any of this in with Daemon's arc or Alice's arc or both. And so I think maybe she's engineering the big picture, and that's why she told Daemon that he's just a player. I mean, she said the same thing about herself, but I do think that's it. I think she's prophecy-minded in some ways, but not the same prophecy as Aegon's dream, because it's the werewood net, not the dragon dreams.
Hi, it's Little Wolfbird. I just want to say Sean beat me, but tomorrow on Silent Sisters podcast, Sean has a drink he talks about as well.
Nice.
So check that out tomorrow. But my question is, if we had 10 episodes, like 2 more episodes, do you think that we would have gotten a Rhea Royce flashback with Daemon and Harrenhal, since every flashback he's gotten has been some sort of regret he's had?
I think he has no regret about that.
I think if he had a regret, he would be picturing the wedding day and not killing her. He'd be like,
that's actually a good point. That might be his regret, was going along with the marriage.
He's like, I should have done something to stop this.
I had the same thought before, like when we were thinking about his visions. I was like, would we see Rhea? And then Aziz immediately quipped, like, no, he doesn't have regret. I was like, I think you're right, though. I think, like, if
he does have regrets, that's just not one of them.
Yeah. He doesn't have regret over that.
You got to leave him a little bit of just pure villainy there. Right? We'll do a couple more questions, and then we'll do more questions at the end.
Hi, friends.
Hi there.
Hi. I would like to get your opinion about like Corlys's storyline this season.
Corlys's storyline this season?
Oh, his storyline this season. Yeah, it's a little it's a little bit more of a backseat than he had in the first season, but that makes a lot of sense given the way the story went, and I expect things to change dramatically in future seasons when he's leading armies at war, or navies in war, and there's going to be more direct conflict. But
I was just thinking about how many of his scenes are in that same set. Very similar.
Yeah, right. That beach. They use that beach a lot. Yeah.
No, not that beach. Just at the shipyard.
Oh, the shipyard. Yes, of course. That shipyard.
He's just at the dock.
They got a lot of mileage out of that shipyard.
I just like Corlys' storyline. I'm like, his storyline was mostly him there having a conversation with someone every episode.
Well, if you think about what the context of those conversations, mostly it's he's busy, but Rhaenys is pressing him about his heir. And he offers it to Baela at one point, and then she's like, no, I'm blood and fire, or fire and blood, and it should go to Salt and Sea. And we've had someone say that they're Salt and Sea, that he's related to, so, but, so that could be the way they go.
I like Corlys a lot less. I mean, my take is I like him less. I think Rhaenys gave him all these opportunities to be honest with her, and he wasn't. He ignored his bastard sons, and they clearly needed his help. And he ignored the war for a while, and it was to the detriment of the war's efforts. And I don't know. I'm not as fond of Corlys this season as I was in season 1.
And I do think that he had to be given some grieving time, of course. So that just keeps him on the sidelines a bit. And it's a micro version of what Daemon's going through, where he had to go off on his own a bit and then kind of come back around. I think
it's more meaningful when you have the growth.
Yeah, it's not pure ambition on his part, that's for sure, or discomfort or distress. It's a lot more understandable, like that he would need that time. But I'm curious what they're going to do with him going forward. But I do think that he was a little bit sidelined this season, but mostly by the plot, mostly by just the demands of the plot.
I mean, I think you can say that, but I think probably a lot of people would say Corlys got so much more screen time than he even needed, and where was the screen time for other characters? So I think it's an arguable
He's
point.
a very popular character, so they
want
to use him as much as they can, but you don't want to force it.
He's great, and I think the scenes that he's had with Baela...
that was one of my favorite scenes of the whole season.
Yeah, I loved that, and I loved... seeing the dynamic with him and his sons, as much as it makes me like him less, I like the drama of it.
It was pretty surprising that he didn't tell Rhaenyra who Adam was.
I know.
Maybe that'll just come this next episode, but he's still, he's just keeping that on the down low still, huh? Interesting. Yeah, let's take one more question, and then we'll take more at the end, like I said. But
Yay, thank you.
Yay.
First of all, Ritsa Sejorna. I'm a huge nerd. I've done the High Valyrian course on Duolingo.
Nice.
I'm obsessed with the podcast. Y'all are
Thank
the
you.
gold standard
Oh, thank you.
when it comes to learning about your
Appreciate
solid Westerosi everything. We live in a great time to be a big fan of the fandom in that we get to watch a show and have a new show in production while we're watching it. But when it comes to the relationships between Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and Hedge Knight, do you think there's going to be an obligation to connect the shows, especially with Aegon's prophecy, that kind of thing? Do you think we're going to see like crossover between here and that of Seven Kingdoms and with Game of Thrones? Like, I feel like there's a lot of hints towards it, but I will defer.
I hesitate to call it an obligation. I would call it a passion from the creators, probably their fans, and probably they loved Game of Thrones like we did, and the creators of the Ira Parker, for example, who's doing Dunk and Egg, loves House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. So, of course, I think they will naturally want it. So, obligated, maybe not, but I think it's a natural inclination to want to connect them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to want to set up that ancestry. Dunk's ancestry is such a big, fun, exploration.
Yeah, so like you would think that they would have
topic.
little things that'll be Easter eggs for like a thing that he says that Brienne says, right? Like, like, so I think they will have that connective tissue.
And as for the like overarching prophecy stuff, for example, I think I don't think they'll go deep into it, but you've got Bloodraven, so they could do stuff.
You got Bloodraven, you got Daeron,
You got Shiera
and even
Seastar,
and
yeah,
even
you got-
Egg has like his late,
And Aerys the First just
So
reads
yes.
books and discovers stuff. So you've got a lot of room there. Yeah, it's odd because it's the era without dragons, but there's still substantial amounts of magic in that era. You still have Bloodraven, and you still have Shiera Seastar, and presumably
Bracken's,
some other
right? You
things.
still have Brackens versus Blackwoods. Like, I mean, like in terms of like again the connective tissue that we'll have, there are certain things that I think we'll see repeated in Dunk and Egg, and
Part of the fun will be ones that we didn't consider. Like, oh yeah, that's a clever way to connect this to that, whatever
Yeah.
it happens to be.
All right. Should we move on to our Harrenhal?
Let's get back to the trailer and stuff.
If we have a time at the end, we'll try to take a few more questions. But yeah, let's actually
Yeah.
get through the trailer.
Cool. Okay, so Harrenhal. Let's talk about Harrenhal. I looked back. A lot of what how I prepared for today was to read our older documents, our older show documents from earlier in the season, and I wrote in the episode 3 preview about Harrenhal. Seems like we could spend a lot of time here. Yeah, wasn't the most adventurous guess ever, but it certainly is true. So in the trailer, we see Caraxes head down and then pick his head up, seeing 2 arriving dragons, which it's pretty clearly Sea Smoke and Cyrax, right?
Yeah.
There was a shot we saw in the preseason trailer that had a dragon in daylight over the God's Eye, which at first people thought it was Caraxes, myself included. Then people noticed, actually, that doesn't look like Caraxes. It's a little yellowish. We're like, oh, is Rhaenyra going to go to Harrenhal? So we've known about this possibility for a while, and it hasn't happened yet. So this is one of those things we mentioned at the beginning. Looks like Rhaenyra is going to Harrenhal, y'all. But this trailer was a little more revealing. She's bringing Adam Velaryon with her, which is, well, what is Daemon going to think about new dragon riders? Like, Jace is one reaction, and Aemon's another, but we haven't seen Daemon's reaction yet, and that could be... I don't know. I mean, I think he might be arrogant enough and sure of himself enough to be like, it doesn't matter, they're on our side, that's good. But he might have some concerns.
The arrogance could go either way. He could be
Yes.
arrogant enough to, think less of them, or arrogant enough to not care at all.
I lean more towards the latter. I'm lean more towards like, this is going to help us. It's good.
Yeah.
But he can be happy to have more dragons. He was like, yeah, we can go team up on Vhagar now, like I wanted to in the first episode.
Yeah, he was trying to get Rhaenys and Meleys to go, so
Yeah.
it'll be his first thing to Adam. Let's go.
Let's go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yeah, she should. I know. It would have been better.
So, yeah, it's true. In retrospect, that would have been better. So that was really cool to see that a longer version of that shot of Cyrax flying over the God's Eye and then seeing Sea Smoke there too. So very curious what that's going to mean.
I think it's interesting she's bringing Adam.
Yeah, why Adam and not? Well, you can see why she didn't bring.
He gave a very convincing speech. She believes that
Okay.
he serves her. That he really she trusts him.
He's
I
at
think
the head
she
of the class
trusts
so
him the
far.
most. Yeah, he's head of the class of the Dragon Seeds. Like, he's the
And you can understand why she didn't bring Jace, because Jace and Daemon. Also, the heir.
want all
You don't want
your-
the heir
yeah.
and the crown together. Yeah. you
Yeah,
don't-
I think so. But I don't think Jace would think.
Jace might not like it. Yeah, he might
you
feel
know.
left out. He's already, especially right now, he's already feeling challenged and.
Yeah,
and-
I think she's right not to bring Jace with her, but I think it would be astounding to me if Jace wasn't bothered.
yeah, I agree. He's not going to like that. Although he does. Maybe he's not going to be fully against it because he wants her to go. He wants Damon back on their side, so he does want that part. So there's another scene another shot we have of Damon just walking out a lot of troops.
And we saw that one a long time ago
We
too,
did see
huh?
that one too, yes. And this time though, it's a little more revealing because we see Alfred Broom. Finally, that dude shows up. We were wondering about him. He wrote out, what was that, episode 5, I think? Or,
Yeah, I was like, I know,
think
it was a
episode
while
5, yeah.
ago.
And it took a while, it took a minute.
He doesn't have a dragon to get
No, he doesn't have, or a teleporter. He's not Littlefinger. And so Damon walks out amongst these troops, and then there's another shot of him giving a speech with Dark Sister out, which is a good chance these are related scenes. And there's a bunch of people kneeling before him, which is like, well, kneeling before him, huh? Is this before or after Rhaenyra's come, or during? Like, she might be there for this moment, which the context is everything there. And one of the people kneeling to Damon is Alfred Broom. So, and that's relevant because we have a line from him here.
While you have mustered an army, Rhaenyra has faltered.
So that is Broom speaking. So the curiosity here is Broom sounds like he's saying, Damon, you should take the crown. Just as he's getting shoving this ambition aside, someone's here, hey, you should take the crown. Like, man, we made so much progress. And then, but how does that work if he's committing his army to Rhaenyra? Well, how did this scene happen? Okay, so if Alfred Broom is telling Damon to claim the crown, then he's not the one sending a message to Rhaenyra, right? To tell her to come. So who sends this message? Why does Rhaenyra come?
She's just tired of waiting.
She's just tired of waiting.
She receives. We know she receives it. Yeah.
Yeah, she gets a message,
Yeah.
but we don't know who from who. So it could be just a trick of the trailer. Maybe it is Alfred Broom after all. Maybe Damon finally does it, but
It's Alice or Simon.
yeah, there's a few other. Yeah, that's really, you're right. There's really not many other.
We
people.
don't know whether Howard Harrenhal characters. Like what?
Oscar Tully does it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. I would love that actually. If Oscar was like, "Okay, I'm going straight to the source. I'm tired of going through your."
We just bent our knee to this guy. We're going to make sure this goes right. We're going to.
I like that idea.
And then Damon says, I guess this is him firing up. He says, "For every one of us who falls, 100 of them, there will be no mercy." Which is, we've heard that line for a while ago, and I mean, he's getting ready for battle. He's getting ready to get the troops going, but in whose name? His, Rhaenyra's. Tough choice. We'll have to see. Elsewhere in the Riverlands, we've got the Lannister armies on the march again. We can see Lord Jason, Lord Lefford. That's the guy who his hospitality he presumably exhausted quite thoroughly. I mean, that is the only guy he hasn't been haughty towards, Lord Jason, is King Viserys himself. He's haughty towards everyone. Even Aemond, Lord Lefford, he was haughty towards Rhaenyra when he's like, "I'll build you a new dragon pit, and we'll have golden-haired children with dragons." She's like, "Nah, I don't know about that." And you can actually see the lions in the train. So clearly, if you all remember what happened, Aemon was like, "You're coming without me, or else." I guess they submitted to that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe Aemon flew out to them, but I don't think so. It seems like Aemon's busy with other things in this episode, but maybe he's really getting around. We have the twins.
Yeah,
this is exciting. Did y'all catch this in the trailer? The Stark army marching, the Greybeards. Yeah, they got their banners and their gray beards. Some of them pretty white. Yeah.
A lot of old men there.
They looked very fierce and very old, yes.
And so the big question, I think, is whether Kragan will march with his army. Straight up, he doesn't in the book, but that doesn't mean we don't think he might in the show, because they change things and it's just a natural change to make.
Law of conservation of characters. But we didn't see him in the trailer, so that doesn't mean he's not there.
Yeah, I don't think that we would see him, for example, in this episode,
Yeah.
but the idea is whether he marched with his host after all.
Yeah, I was pretty big on the idea. It's losing a little bit of steam with me of Cregan being there because it would look so odd to have a 21-year-old leading all those 50 and 60-year-olds. Something doesn't seem right about that. But, I mean, he's a good leader. I think he could pull it off. But, yeah, we'll have to see about that. It's just a tease. I don't know that we'll get much more than even that in the episode, just the Starks marching. It'll be a longer version of them marching, but it may not be much more than that. But great setup. We'll see Starks next season. We'll see hopefully Roddy the Ruin. Yeah, because the good side of Cregan not being there, it ensures the presence of Roddy the Ruin, which we want both of them. We want lots of both of them, right? Okay. Back to Dragonstone. We have a scene that we've had seen in earlier trailers. A dinner with dragon seeds, we could call it, because it's got Rhaenyra at the head of the table wearing her crown. You got Baela. You got Jace. Then you got 3 dragon seeds. You got Adam, Ulf, and Hugh. And this is immediately what comes to mind for me is like, this is instantly the fanciest dinner any of these 3 guys have had. And just that, along with so many other things, like how overwhelming is that when I don't know how overwhelming that is. I've never experienced it, but...
Something that you hear is that like rich foods will mess up a stomach when you're not used to it. Do you think all those dragon seeds have like intestinal distress from the rich...
Especially food? Ulf, because he's also pounding drinks with that, right? Yeah.
But, I mean, they're used to like bread, and I mean, I guess Adam eats a lot of fish, but like they're not used to very rich people's foods, right?
It does beg the question when you're on a dragon, you've been riding for several hours. I mean, if you're on an airplane, you got a lavatory, but I don't know how you handle that situation.
It's a good question.
Ooh, yeah.
I think you have your question for George. I think you could probably say they pissed themselves, though.
They probably just...
That's probably the answer.
Let it go. Maybe a little pouch, maybe, that they...
I think this is have to go.
Phew. All right, let's move on from that one. So Rhaenyra has a couple of lines here.
I have entrusted you with a power only few have known, and we must strike while we have the advantage.
Yes, that's good. I like hearing Rhaenyra be a little more aggressive, because she has been wary of getting into the war that's already started, so she probably should commit a little more.
She's like an 8 dragon to 1 or 3, depending on how you count it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to count it, but her advantage is large. Yeah, for sure. And she says, I have entrusted you with the power only few have known, but yeah, how much control does she really have? That's certainly a big question that we're going to wonder about. And I think Mysaria, again, comes up big here, because she is going to be crucial in determining the state of mind of these people. And like, if anything changes with them, she'll be the one to give the warning. Like, well, can we trust these guys after all, or is...
You would hope. You would hope that if she's doing
her job. That's supposed to be her job,
She's the Mistress of Whisperers, right? So you would hope that if Ulf, Hugh, or Adam, or anyone else was doing anything untrustworthy, Mysaria would know, but I wouldn't necessarily assume all-knowing omnipotence.
Yeah, and another interesting thing, too, is that looking at Jace's complaints with not being able to trust these characters, and how Mysaria said, the only real difference is, there's royals can betray each other too. There's not a whole lot of difference here. But what's interesting about them is they're not connected. And that's a thing that affects whose side you take, or why you might switch sides, or any other reasons like that, is that you have family connections already. The fact that these guys have, Adam has a family connection.
Yeah, Adam does.
And Ulf and Hugh have some connections, but they're not as direct. And that doesn't automatically make them more loyal to Rhaenyra.
Hugh has a reason to be bothered by Aegon, because Aegon didn't pay him his money. So, technically...
And for now, Ulf has a reason to hate Aemond.
Yeah, that's true. Like, they both have reasons to be against the Greens, generally.
They're not huge reasons, though.
But I also say, I would say they would probably be easily bribable.
That is what someone like Jace, I think, is worried about. Yeah, like, it would be easier to bribe someone like that. But not that... rich people take bribes,
Yeah, true enough.
So it is really about the person and not about how much money they have. But these are unknowns, so yeah, we don't know. I'm very curious to see how they'll do that. The fleshing out of these characters is super interesting, and I'm looking forward to more of it. So we have Adam in armor, stealing himself, pun intended, and getting ready, I guess, maybe to go to Harrenhal. I mean, we know he goes there, so that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Now we have 2 shots of Alan and Lord Corlys, both in ships being rowed, and they're
in armor too.
They're in armor too. They're Ironborn.
I know. You're in armor on a boat.
This seems like Corlys' ship is finally ready. That if he's sailing out in armor, that seems like I don't think he would do that without his ship. So
yeah.
I think that means for now, I guess
he has been actually
actually building a ship this whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
They've been doing something. So yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna get on that boat.
Has we been told that is the sea snake? Have we been told that?
I mean, it was that was
Okay.
that was his ship.
Yeah.
It was his ship, the sea snake.
Oh, I know. I just don't know if they actually name dropped it on the
in
show or
season
not.
1 or not. I don't
Okay.
think they said it in season 2.
Okay, cool.
Maybe they did, but I think season 1 it was established.
So yeah, as we said, we're very curious if anything there'll be any advancement on Corlys and the reveal of his children, but maybe not. So Rhaenyra's god complex, I think, is maybe one of the biggest developing situations, and it's really interesting to compare to Daenerys, who also had a god complex. And I don't think they want to do it the same, though. They don't want to run that same thing, so they got to make it differently. They got to do some things differently, and we can't get too deep into spoilers on what might happen, but I do want to lay down that at least as an idea of something that I think they will not just go down the same route of her just blowing everything up because everyone's against her, although to a certain degree that might happen. Now, a side question here related to that. Missing scenes from prior trailers. There's a scene where Rhaenyra is walking away from fire behind her, and that might have been the red sewing, but there's another shot of eggs, 3 dragon eggs in a fire. Now, what's puzzling about this is that they supposedly sent all the eggs away with Rhaena.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Hugh
I mean,
stepped on an egg sack. Ulf stepped on an egg sack. So maybe these are just these eggs. But why the heck did they put them straight in the fire? That would be kind of a what's that about? The only other person we've ever seen put eggs in a fire is Dany, right? That's not something that we know of them doing in this era. They keep them warm.
Could it be a vision? Could it be Daemon?
That's what I'm building to. Yes, that is absolutely what I think. I think it has to be a dream because.
Or a cut shot?
It could be a cut shot. It could be, yeah. That's the other possibility, is it's just a deleted scene. But that's super interesting. Something related to 3 eggs in a fire, which might mean someone's dreaming of something to do with that far in the future, which would be really cool. We have another unanswered question I have is we've seen Jace's reaction to the dragon seeds, very negative. What about Baela? What's she gonna? Is she gonna be bothered by it? Or
She's gonna be like, I've seen my sister try a whole bunch. Good luck. I don't know.
Harsh. Yeah, I don't know. I think she might be less bothered, but given the way she handled Corlys, I think maybe she'll handle Jace the same way, like just, come on, give him a pep talk or something, pump him up. Yeah. She's good at that. I don't know. Okay, a couple more things, and then we can get back to some questions, and then we'll call it a night. One other shot we see in the trailer, or 2 other shots that are related. There's a big fleet. Looks like the Triarchy, doesn't it?
Yeah. It absolutely does look like the Triarchy, and obviously we've seen that that's where Sir Tyland, Jason's twin brother, is going.
Yeah.
And so
a big old ship, I suppose that's blockade related. They're heading towards the blockade. That's obviously why they wanted the Triarchy.
And we know one of the castings, too, because we've heard Shirako Lohar was cast. Interesting, because it's Abigail Thorne, who some of you might know. She's a Philosophy Tube, a YouTuber, who pivoted to acting and got a role in The Acolyte and in House of the Dragon.
How about that to start your acting career off? Straight in The Acolyte. You get Game of Thrones and Star Wars right off the bat.
Yeah, I know. Good for her, right?
Jeez.
But so that we know we haven't seen her yet, so we will see her in the finale for sure. So
that'll be cool.
And other people in the Triarchy.
Yep, and we have a related scene of what appears to be Sir Tyland mud wrestling. Like what? Or just in the mud.
Yeah, just
I'm
in the
not
mud.
sure,
I don't know if he's wrestling or just.
That's hard to figure. I don't really have any guesses on that one. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's cool to see them involved.
It's like Bear Island wrestling.
Okay, you got to wrestle bears or mud.
Yeah, right.
Or wrestle bears in the mud. Okay, did I have one other one? No, I think not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Rhaena. Yeah, Rhaena, we have another shot of Rhaena running up a hill. So the question is, I think a lot of us know where this is going. Yeah, she's Kate Bushing it right now. And if she successfully Kate Bushes, she might get a dragon. Well, that's the reward for Kate Bushing. So what's the thing here? So we know this is a Ray Nettles thing. We've kind of talked about it a little bit. Is this going to be something that is spread out a bit?
I guess let me just take a moment to say, show-only people, you've probably heard the name Nettles a lot. You probably are familiar, but just one brief moment. Nettles is simply a dragon seed that her heritage is hotly contested in the fandom. Some people think she was a bastard. Some people think she had no Targaryen blood at all. She was brown skinned. Maybe there was Maester bias against her because of that. Maybe not. She generally was a good seed, it seems. She was a decent person. So people were fond of her.
So rolling her into Rhaena's character, or partially or a lot, it opens up a lot of new questions, but ones that are difficult to get into without spoilers. So, but I do think that it would be unlikely for her to go through all this and fail.
I would love it.
It would be so hilarious. The wrong kind of hilarious, but yeah. Like, oops, a dragon just ate her. I mean, whoa, that was really unexpected.
She didn't learn her lesson. She tried with Vermithor, with Silverwing, with Sea Smoke, and she tried a 4th time. What was she thinking?
What she really should not do is just dress up as a sheep. That's a very bad idea. I'll get close to him that way. He won't see me coming.
Well, yeah, no, I think she'll succeed. I don't think we're going to see her. This whole season was an arc of her failure.
You said she'll succeed? Yeah. She's not a seed, though. She's a Targaryen.
Yeah, no, succeed. Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, so let's have more questions with our remaining time.
Testing. All right. So I know we've talked about nettles a ton, so hopefully this kind of lays it to rest. But I wonder if with the red sewing, with how kind of obvious it was that it was going to be Ulf and Hugh, that they might be giving us a little bit of a bait and switch. That Rhaena might encounter another dragon rider, i.e. Nettles, who will say, hey, here's how you finally get your dragon. There's a riderless one available elsewhere.
This one's taken, sorry.
Yeah, this one's taken. Yeah, you can't have this one. Your queen's in another castle.
Yeah, so your thoughts on that?
I would love it. I still bring it back to the fact that we were told not to ask about Nettles. I can't help but...
If we're super optimistic about that, it means because they wanted to keep it a surprise.
It's a big twist.
That would be... Yeah.
I'm low on it. I was trying to keep my hope alive all season long, but it's died on that front, I think. And I'm trying to just like Rhaena. Just Rhaena will be good, hopefully.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that could all fit together is definitely interesting, even though it makes me sad, and a lot of the rest of us, that there's no Nettles. Probably.
Yeah, probably. Not confirmed yet. All right, next.
Who's next?
Hi, a big fan, long-time listener.
Thanks.
Just wanted to ask, do you think we're going to see a battle anytime in the next episode? Sea battle, dragon battle, land battle, whatever? And if so, where?
A land battle is possible. I would doubt a sea battle because of the meta reason, which is we pay a lot of attention to trailer stuff. Not trailer stuff, but casting and
filming
filming stuff, and there's just been nothing about a sea battle. It seems like a really difficult thing for them to conceal. A land battle's possible, but I wouldn't bet on it.
I mean, we see all those armies massed that Daemon has,
but they haven't quite gotten there yet. Yeah, so I think we're seeing the setup.
I think we saw what, as he said earlier, the penultimate episode is the big bombastic spectacle, and that was the red sewing. It wasn't a battle. It was a battle of one dragon against a whole bunch of people. I don't know.
Battling to survive.
It was a Hunger Games type vibe for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that was it, and I don't think that we're going to see another huge set piece like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's not really their style to do that with the last episode.
Yeah.
But they could surprise us. That would be an interesting way to break the pattern. Like, a lot of us expect George might break his prologue pattern at some point as a surprise. Not that we know that it'll happen, but that would be kind of a neat twist to be like, oh, we expect this character to die, and then they don't.
Next.
Hi there.
Hello.
Who do you most want to see die tomorrow, and how?
Who do you? That's a tough one. Okay, I got it.
You got it?
I got it, yeah. Okay, so we had a theory. It wasn't a very likely theory, but we loved the idea, just imagining it, which was in episode 7, when there was the expectation that Daemon would execute someone, because they showed him swinging his sword like as if he was executing someone. And we, the prediction, we made the prediction that it was probably Willem Blackwood, but the alternate prediction was that it was Alfred Broom, because he's trying to, he's kind of sucks.
Yeah. Alfred Broom is a good answer.
So I'd say I would kind of like him to die. I don't think he will, but I kind of want him to.
I want to see Jason Lannister die from
Ooh, yeah. Good answer.
I don't expect it quite yet.
But I want his lions to survive. Let the lions get away and escape back up into the hills. Yes, the lions can go back up there. Those are the lions that they'll escape, get into the hills, breed, and one day one of those lions will eat the leg off of the guy that becomes the first Clegane, Lord Master of Clegane Keep.
Okay, here we go. That's how they got there?
That's their backstory right there. Saving Lord Tytos.
Next.
Who's next?
So we saw that Allison, I'm right over here, sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
No,
yeah.
you're good. Like she had like a change of heart after being in the water.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think like her thought process is now, especially because it seems like she went like a little softer, but now they were like predicting or saying that she has like a new firm look on life, and I'm wondering what that might be.
I think she's seeing like who she can still save, like who is salvageable. You know, who can she have control over? And I think that is Helena.
Yeah, it might. I mean, the trailer seems to be showing us that. You're right. There's
She
limited.
gets involved between Aemond and Helena there. I think she's like, if I can do one thing with myself, it's like helicopter parent over my daughter. I don't know.
That's a very good point, because you're right. She's lost so much power. It's not like she can make big moves anymore. At least she has a limited ability to do that. The queen behind the queen. So she could, she could.
I don't think she's doing it for manipulation, though. I'm joking.
No, I agree with
think
you.
she just knows how to. She wants to protect her daughter.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like she can protect what she can, and her family. Even amongst her family, there's very little there. Maybe she would want to protect Darren if she could, but he's so far away.
Yeah, I mean, there's little Jahara too.
There is little Jahara. She wants to protect Jahara.
She
yeah,
has a granddaughter.
That's precious. Yeah, so I think you're right. I think those are probably her biggest concerns now. Now that the bath was like what do I do now that I don't have power? It was like, well, I do have power. It's just not political power, and I still have familial power. I'm still Aemond is my son. Even if he won't listen to me, in council I can still maybe sway him a little bit. And she thinks she still thinks she can sway Aegon too. It's interesting we haven't had another Aegon Allison scene yet.
Yeah, she's like, he sleeps all the time. I'm not going back.
That's true. Yeah, she apologized to him when he was asleep. So I kind of expect a scene of him away, and he said "mummy" when she was walking away. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like, are they going to actually have a conversation? I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's a good point. Will they?
Hi there.
Hi.
By the way, I just want to know, I wanted to tell you guys do a great job. I've listened to dozens of your podcasts.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, just one little question. Do you think that Daemon's experiences at Harrenhal will have any type of profound effect on his future behavior as a character?
Yeah.
A big time. Yeah, I think this has made him into a very different person. I think he's been shown his own insides and that he didn't want to face. And a lot of that has to do with how he treated his family, interacted with his family, his daughters, his wife. Well,
yeah, that's
his
what
wives.
I would like to see. Will Daemon be better with his daughters after this?
Yeah, when Lane is like, "You protecting our daughters?" You know, not that kind of better.
I know. Will he like send them a letter?
Yeah, like something. Yeah, Baela, Rhaena. Will he be proud of Rhaena if she succeeds at getting a dragon? I think a lot will be somewhat straightforward in terms of, I think he'll support Rhaenyra. Maybe there'll be some more bumps in the road, but what makes me more curious is how he's going to interact with the realm of the supernatural. Right? He started off calling it all nonsense. Drivel, he said. He yelled drivel. He didn't just say it, he yelled it. And he can't deny that anymore. Right? He's like, okay, I'm having real dreams. I keep seeing my one parent and my brother and my niece, wife, and all these other people. So how's that going to affect his view of the prophecy? Because he thought that was stupid too. So I think if he thinks, well, if this other supernatural stuff is actually pretty real, then maybe he'll believe Rhaenyra on that. And that maybe just makes him support her more. Or I don't know. I don't know other maybes. That's the only real way I can land on that. But there could be a lot of surprises.
Yeah, I just brought back to what you said earlier that like he's becoming the Daemon that readers saw in Fire and Blood. And it's more interesting if you start somewhere different and end up there than that if you're just the same the whole show.
And then, of course, there's always there's the meta. You know, they have Matt Smith. They want to use him. And if you recall, his Fire and Blood arc for the war in the Riverlands is Daemon sent out word, and all the common people joined him, which put pressure on all the lords to join him, and that was that. So it was, I could see why they expanded on that, you know, made it a little more interesting, because that wouldn't have given Matt Smith as much to do. So, yeah. Who's next?
I think we can do one more.
One more?
I think
Okay.
it's 9:57. I think we should do one more.
All right. Who gets the last question? Who's the lucky person?
Sure. Someone just pointed at her, so I'm like, sure. You had her back.
Well, I hope it's a good one. The scene that opened the last episode with the dragons, I'm trying to figure out, were the dragons talking to each other, or were they protecting...
The riders?
Yeah, but what really threw me then, because if they were protecting the riders, then Rhaenyra was just as vulnerable as anyone else, and
Agreed.
It really threw me, especially, I'm not a book reader, but coming off of Game of Thrones and Dany's relationship with her dragons, this is a whole different thing. And Viserys in season 1 saying, you know, it's an illusion that we control those dragons. That scene, it just really shifted a lot of things for me.
I think a little of both. I think the dragons communicate with each other in some way, and I think they're also feeding off of the natural nerves that Rhaenyra and Adam both had right there.
Yes.
And so, I think a little of both. I do think the dragons have some way of you know, like, I think certain sounds mean certain things to dragons.
Yeah, I think
just
they
like
were
animals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they behaved a lot like dogs in that scene, where they're feeling their emotions of their masters, and when the masters calm down, the dragons calm down. Because when Rhaenyra was like, "Oh, you're going to kneel to me," and I believe you, like what you're saying, it seemed like all the dragons calmed down. It seemed like Syrax calmed down, and then Seasmoke calmed down. So I felt like you could really draw trace a direct line to what happened there. Like, once the emotions cooled, so did the dragons. But as to what you're saying about the dragon control of the dragons being an illusion, I mean, Rhaenyra knows Seasmoke. Seasmoke knows her a bit, so I think she had some expectation of safety there. But I do think in the long run we'll see more examples of the dragons going beyond what the writers want, like we saw at the end of season 1.
With Aemond, yes, that is where
we haven't seen much of that this season, but that was clearly set up for.
We kind of see a little bit of it when Aemond was trying to turn Vhagar around.
It's true. Vhagar didn't want to go.
No, Vhagar, and he has to kind of really push her.
She was as she was turning, she still had her head cocked towards Dragonstone. That was really good. Like, she's like, "Oh, I want to go."
Yeah.
But they were yelling slurs at her. So the other dragons were taunting her. They were calling her old, and
I can't not laugh when I see those dragons.
Syrax is really mean. She really knows how to.
My thumb at you.
Yeah, Syrax would in dragon culture. She's extremely good at cursing people out.
Cool. Well, yeah, we're at 10:01. As we said, we're gonna give out shirts to those of you who wore our costumes, fits, whatever. But also, if you come up and talk to us, we have stickers for anyone who wants one. So I figure Aziz will handle shirts and I'll handle stickers.
Yes.
So
indeed.
yeah, please.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We had such a great time. Thanks for so many great questions. And we hope you all enjoy the episode tomorrow. And we'll be, of course, covering it at our usual time. So thanks again. And Valar, reread us.